hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm excited to talk with you today about recruitment. I'm sure it's something that is near and dear to most of your hearts. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this webinar. As a means of introducing myself, I'm Lori Dahlberg, and I am the HR Consulting Senior Manager here at Eide Bailly. My focus is on helping our clients with their HR needs, whether it's developing processes, looking at compensation, reviewing handbooks. If you have an HR matter, I can potentially assist you. I've been with the firm for, it will be 20 years in January. It has flown by. I love what I do, love helping clients, and am really excited to talk with you here today. When we're talking about recruitment, we have to understand why. Why are we talking about recruitment? Why is recruitment at the forefront of most of our business decisions right now? The reason is based on some turnover statistics that are out there. Right now, unemployment across the nation is at 3.5%. That is extremely low. It means that there are very few people who are unemployed and available to apply for or to join our organization to fill these positions that we have open. There are also more than 6 million jobs that are posted out on Indeed. That is a lot of jobs, especially when unemployment is so low. The average time to fill a position is 42 days. That's 42 days of you as an employer or a business professional going without a need that you might have. So that can be a little bit stressful. And the cost of turnover averages anywhere from 6 to 9 months of an employee's salary. So the higher the level the position, the more it is costing you in turnover expenses. And unfortunately, that turnover is likely to jump up to 20% this year. I don't know about you, but I know that a lot of the clients that I am working with have excessive turnover right now. Employees are not willing to stick around for a position that maybe doesn't suit them well, or an employer that they don't really enjoy working for anymore. And because they have options, they're jumping ship. So these are all the things that kind of go into why we're talking about recruitment, why you might be up late at night thinking about recruitment, and what you can do to improve your recruitment efforts. And hopefully after today's webinar, you'll have some action items that you can take and implement that will help you in that regard. What I would like to do is to start off with a polling question. Are you currently struggling to fill open positions within your organization? So just go ahead and indicate yes or no. No right or wrong answers. It's just more for me to have an understanding of the audience. Okay, so it does look like a vast majority of you are struggling to find people. Those of you that are not struggling to find people, consider yourself lucky. You're either doing some great things to retain your employees or have strong recruitment initiatives already in place. But for those of you who are struggling, I'm going to give you some tactics to utilize to either improve your recruitment processes or the success you have with your recruitment processes. So let's get started. Anytime we are dealing with turnover or issues with regards to recruitment, what we're talking about is the war for talent. Individuals that you hire to fill your open positions are considered the talent in your organization. And when we have 6 million options for employees to choose from, and there are very, very few individuals out there who are unemployed right now, it really is a war. It's a war between you and your competitors or other employers to get that talent. And so in order to win that battle, you really need to approach with the mindset that emphasizes on the importance of talent to your success as an organization. A lot of people like to say, oh yes, our greatest asset is our employees. The thing is now you actually have to walk the talk. You need to make sure that the initiatives that you put in place to attract individuals to your organization are top-notch so that you can get those top-notch employees. And then the business practices that you have in place will keep those employees. So what it boils down to when it comes to winning the war for talent is that you have to think of recruitment as a core strategic initiative. And it's more than just throwing it down on your strategic initiatives list. It's actually coming up with processes and procedures and tools and resources that you utilize that indicate it is an initiative that you have some focus on, that you are actually going out there and implementing. So when we talk about recruitment as a strategic initiative, what we are saying is that recruitment is not something you put on the back burner anymore. It is an important responsibility that should be given to individuals within your organization as either a primary function or at least as one of their initial essential responsibilities. You have to establish processes that include the steps that every candidate or every hiring manager will go through in order to successfully implement and complete your recruitment process so that you are ending up hiring the best possible person for the job and not just a butt that sits in a seat and fills a position. Your focus should be on finding talent, recruiting that talent, and then selecting that talent so that you identify the best person for your organization. And in order to get there, you really need to make sure that you are utilizing the right individuals within your organization as part of your recruitment and interview process. And these are the things that we're going to be talking about over the course of the next 50 minutes. So how do you start recruiting, right? Like it seems like this big task out there that you don't really know how to start, or maybe you have started it and it's not going well. Well, the first thing that you need to do in order to establish a strong recruitment process is to figure out how you identify your need. When do you determine that you have an open position? Is it when someone leaves? Is it when you have more business than you can handle and you need to hire additional individuals? Are you growing and you need to hire individuals for the growth that you have? Is it that you are lacking in a specific skill set or area of expertise that your team might benefit from? You have to identify that need. And in identifying that need, you really need to think about what your perfect candidate looks like. And I like to call this candidate the purple unicorn. They likely do not exist. You likely will not find somebody who has all of the qualifications, expertise, personality, soft skills, all those types of things that you want. But what you need to do is to think of that individual or what that person might be like, the types of skills that they have, so that you can go out and find the person who would best be suited for the job. So in figuring out what that perfect candidate looks like, you're going to assess what actually would this person be doing? What experience would they have? What kind of person are they? Are they a social butterfly in your office who can kind of do the kumbaya stuff and create great teamwork and foster that team atmosphere? Or do you need somebody to actually just sit down in their cubicle, put their head down and get the technical elements of the job done? Every team needs a couple of those individuals on it. And so you really need to take a look at your existing team and figure out what is missing from your existing team. With the need that you have, do you have the right technical capabilities? Or do you need somebody who maybe has a little stronger technical skill? Do you have the right type of experience, somebody who's been in the industry for a long time? Or do you need some fresh blood, somebody who maybe hasn't been in the industry and may have some new ideas? Are you looking for a skill set that does not exist on your team, but that you would like to have so that your team is more well-rounded? When you are identifying what your need is, the goal should always be to look at your existing team or individuals within your organization who may have skills that you can use in your area for that position. Like if Bob leaves and Bob was great at XYZ, are there other people on the team who might be able to take on XYZ so that you can go find somebody who has skills more like ABC? Things that are lacking from your team currently, that if you found someone who had those skill sets, that experience, that technical expertise, would make your team more well-rounded. So those are the things that you need to start with, is identifying your need. And the reason you want to identify your need is you will never find someone to fill your position until you know what it is that you're looking for. So take the time to really sit down and think through what it is that you are needing on your team before you even post a position. Once you have identified what that need is, now you can create a job posting. And I would say that a majority of the job postings that I see out there are job descriptions. And I will be honest with you, most candidates don't really read through the full job description, which may be why you are getting candidates who aren't truly qualified for the job. Job descriptions are kind of boring. They serve their purpose from an HR perspective with regards to setting expectations for job responsibilities, identifying job qualifications. You can utilize it as a tool for performance management. But when it comes to recruitment, the last thing you want to do is post a job description. Instead, you should take a look at the job description and develop a job posting that promotes the position in a way that someone would actually want to apply for it, right? What are some of the exciting things that an individual might do if they were to get into your job? What are some of the day-to-day things they might encounter? What types of skills should they have that would make them truly successful in the position? And instead of listing it in bullet pointed or numbered job description format, put it in paragraphs. Explain, a day in the life of this individual might include interacting with clients on an important business matter. It could include reviewing a policy to see if it's compliant with regulations. It might include dealing with a customer to help them through an issue they may have had with a product. Right? So put it in terms so that individuals would understand what it is they might be doing. In addition, your job postings should also promote the positive attributes of your organization. So if you have a phenomenal benefits package, put that in your job posting. If you have great time away from work benefits, if it's a flexible work environment, if it's a business casual environment, or a truly casual environment, put those things in the job posting that would make somebody say, oh my gosh, I'd love to go work for them. Be creative. And if you have marketing staff as part of your organization's makeup, include marketing in helping you draft those job postings. Their job is to draw customers to your business. Allow them to help you figure out a way to draw potential employees to your business as well. At the end of the day, what you're wanting to do with your job posting is to explain to a candidate why they would want to join your company and work in that particular job that you have. So make your job postings a little more creative and interesting. Once you've posted your position, then you also kind of need to think about where you're going to promote it. Where might you find these individuals that could potentially fill your position? And the truth of the matter is that whole 6 degrees of separation is kind of a reality. The person that you're going to hire is likely connected to somebody that you know, or somebody that they know, or somebody that even that person knows. It's somewhere within your network, whether that network is a personal network, it's a current business network, it could be a network from where you went to school or where you happened to do an internship, previous employers. Someone within your network could potentially be a good fit. So why not start off by looking at those individuals? It's what I like to call low-hanging fruit. So with this low-hanging fruit, once you've identified the position, you've created the job posting, now start thinking about where you're going to find that person. You may find that person within your internal group. So it could be somebody within your department or somebody within your company. You shouldn't expect that you know all of the backgrounds, education, and expertise of every single employee within your organization. So it is always a good idea to post your positions internally and to let your current employees know what opportunities are out there, just in case there is someone who currently works there who has the skill set that you're looking for. Always better to move somebody internally than it is to try and look externally for someone. So at least make the attempt to look at your internal talent. Is there somebody who already works for you that might be able to fill that position and to see it as a potential career advancement opportunity? Next, you want to look at the people that your employees know. If you don't have an employee referral bonus, you should probably consider having one. Employees know your organization. They know the good things about your organization. They know what it takes to be successful in your organization. And therefore, if you reach out to your employees to say, hey, do you know of anyone who would be a good fit for this? And you give them a bonus, chances are highly likely they are going to come up with individuals that they know, or at least they might reach out to individuals that they know within their network to see if there might be an interest. The next one is your network contacts. It's who do you know in the industry, and then who do they know in the industry? Or who do you know in your different circles, or who do they know? Start spreading the word that you have an opportunity on your team, and see if someone you know is interested, or if they might know someone. This is as easy as it gets when it comes to recruitment. Reaching out to people who already exist within your networks is always the great way to start, and usually kind of speeds up that recruitment process. If you can't find someone within your current networks, well, then it comes time to spread the word. And with spreading the word, what you want to do is to get your job out there. And by getting it out there, I mean put it out there wherever you can. You should always post your positions on your own website. You should reach out to job service in your area and make sure it gets posted on their website. That oftentimes can fulfill some of those affirmative action requirements by posting it where a diverse group of individuals can find it. You should post it on college job boards, whether you are looking for a current student or maybe it's a former student. Most college career centers have alumni boards, and it's an easy place to post your position to get it out to a great group of people. You can also post on Indeed. Certainly you can pay for an Indeed subscription. What that does is it allows your job posting to pop up a little bit sooner than similar job postings do. You don't have to pay for an Indeed subscription in order to have your job posted there. Indeed actually scrapes websites and pulls job postings and throws it up on their site for no fee. But if you do pay the minimal fee that they have, your job posting will appear higher on the list than if you don't pay that service. And then, of course, any industry association sites. If you're in the healthcare industry, posting it with HFMA or your local chapter of your healthcare association would really be beneficial. Many industry associations have websites. Many industry associations allow you as a member to post your positions to those sites. So why not try and target the exact market that you're trying to reach? You also should be utilizing social media. 79% of candidates utilize social media in their job searches. So make sure that if you have a company Facebook page or a company LinkedIn page or a company Twitter page, that every time you have an opening, you blast that opening out on those social media sites. If you do not have company pages on any of those, then as a business professional, you could utilize your LinkedIn site. And with LinkedIn, there's actually a way that you can connect to your first, second, and third degree contacts. So you don't have to have a LinkedIn recruiter seat in order to reach out to candidates via LinkedIn. You just have to have them somewhere within your first, second, or third contacts. And if you do, there is a comment box. If you see somebody that you might be interested in reaching out to, use the comment box to reach out to them and ask them to connect with you regarding your specific opportunity. Posting on social media is pretty simple. Literally, all you need to do is just go out there and say, hey, we're looking to add someone great to our team. If you are interested or may know of someone who is, please reach out to me, and then have a link to where your position is posted on your website. Very simple, very quick way to get your job out there to hundreds, if not thousands of people within your network, and their network. And then, of course, last but not least, if you are really struggling for some difficult to fill positions, then hiring a staffing agency is also an option. My recommendation with staffing agencies is that you own that relationship, that you don't just call a staffing agency and say, oh, hey, we're looking for an electrical engineer. It's you call that agency and you say, we're looking for an electrical engineer. Here's exactly what we're looking for. Here are the questions I would like for you to ask them to determine if they are qualified to even meet with us. And when you find a candidate, I would like to see their resume. I'd like to see the notes where they responded to these questions that I've provided. And then you own getting that candidate scheduled for the interview. You own the offer process. Do not let agencies take ownership of that. This is your position in your company, and a staffing agency is providing a service by finding the individual, but you want to make sure that you're the one who's selling the candidate on your opportunity. We always need to make sure that we are keeping diversity in mind when we are recruiting. There are a number of diversity-related websites to attract individuals from all different backgrounds, whether it is based on race, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, veteran status. There's all kinds of different websites that you can go to post your positions to make sure that you're getting the word out to a diverse population of individuals and hopefully improve the diversity within your organization with regards to who you hire. All right, once your position is posted, if you are truly making recruitment a priority, you will understand that the second the word is out that you are hiring, candidates, hopefully, are going to be applying. And once they apply, you have to respond immediately. Know that there are a lot of organizations out there that already have recruitment as a top priority. They have individuals who are focused on recruitment. And when positions are open, if a candidate applies, that candidate is being responded to on the same day. Gone are the days where you can post a position on Monday and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to wait until next Monday to review my resumes. That gives people time to apply, gives people the weekend to apply, and then I'm just going to look at all of the resumes the next Monday. I can guarantee that the candidates who apply for your position the moment it's posted are long gone by the time that you've started reviewing their resume. So you have to make it a priority and you have to respond timely. That's just the way of the world right now. Time will kill all deals. So you have to make sure that if a candidate applies, you review their resume and you reach out to them to let them know that you're interested in speaking with them. So you posted your position, people have started applying. This is where kind of the essence of the recruitment process starts. It's going to start with that resume review. It's going to move into that phone screen or that initial screening, and then you're going to have an actual interview. And there are some best practices that you need to follow in each of these areas. As I mentioned with resume review, it is something that you need to do on a minimum on a daily basis. If you are somebody who is extremely busy, like we all are, you should block some time on your calendar to set aside time where you will review any resumes that have come in. If you happen to have an organization that utilizes any kind of an HRIS system for employees or for applicants to apply so that you are notified immediately when a resume comes in, why not review it immediately, right? Like, take care of reviewing resumes as they come in so that if you see someone fabulous, you can reach out right away. Even if you're not able to interview them for a couple of days, at least reach out to them to let them know, I received your resume. I am very interested in speaking with you. Do you have time available on XYZ date? You have to respond immediately. It's what today's candidate expects. And if we think about social media and how it has changed the world, like, and even the internet or just in general technology, we're getting information immediately and people are expecting responses immediately. So the same follows through with regards to recruitment. When you have identified candidates that you're interested in and you've let them know that you want to move forward, that's great. Somebody needs to set up that interview to ensure that you can get that individual in as soon as possible before your competitors or before other individuals looking for similar talent are reaching out to them. If you are not pursuing a candidate, you should also let them know that. Now, responding right away to say no, thank you, probably not the best idea. So you may want to put aside the individuals that you're not interested in pursuing, and maybe once a week or every few days, send out rejection notifications just to let them know, thank you, we received your resume. We are thankful that you were interested in the opportunity. At this time, we've chosen to move forward with a candidate whose skill set and expertise is closer to what we're looking for. You don't have to be rude about it. Just be very vague. If they ask you why you're not pursuing them, just refer them back to the fact that you don't disclose reasons. You've just found other candidates who are more qualified. One thing is that at the time that you review resumes, this may be the point in time when you initiate the applicant process, where you have a candidate fill out an application. You want to make sure that anybody that you're interested in talking with further completes an application for you. And that application could include just basic information, name, address, phone number, email address, work history, showing dates that they were employed, what their position title was, why they left, and then education. You should always have an applicant covenant on your application so that it states that the employee or the candidate acknowledges that they are answering those questions to the best of their ability, they are not lying, and that if we find out later on down the road that they have lied, they will be disqualified from being considered for the position. And if they've been hired, it could be grounds for termination. That kind of helps solidify things and makes candidates be a little bit more honest, but you always want to make sure you have an application. Many HRIS systems, if you have them in place for applications or for candidates to apply, they complete the application at the time they're submitting their resume or applying for your position. So I just wanted to throw in there that if you have an application, you need to make sure that you are having candidates fill that application out prior to you bringing them in for an interview. I always recommend doing a pre-screening of those candidates that have met the essential qualifications for the job. So you've done your resume review. These are the ones you're interested in talking with. I recommend doing a pre-screen. That pre-screen might be part, again, of their the questions that they're asked as they are applying for the position, or it could be that you ask these questions after you have identified someone who you are interested in talking with. Pre-screen questions are the basics. This is the stuff where if they don't answer these questions correctly, they're not going to be interviewed. You will save a tremendous amount of time, effort, and money by not bringing individuals into your workspace and putting them through interviews with multiple people if you do pre-screening. Some of the pre-screen questions are things like, what do they know about this position or the organization? Why do they want to leave their current employer? What is their availability? Meaning, when could they start with you? What are their pay expectations? Do not ask what they are currently making. In many states, it is illegal to ask individuals what they're currently making due to new pay equity laws, but you can ask them what their pay expectation is for this position. If it's a position that requires travel, your pre-screening question could talk about their ability to travel. You can ask about previous terminations or performance issues, and you can also ask about their work authorization status, whether they have the legal authorization to work in the United States. I find that it's helpful to have either a conversation with them, a quick conversation to go through these things before you move forward. Or by having these questions as part of an online applicant screening so that you have that information and can determine whether you want to bring them into the office for an interview, or to schedule a video conference interview with candidates who may not reside where you are. The thing to keep in mind is anytime you meet with a candidate, it is considered an interview. So you have to make sure that you treat any interaction, whether it is over coffee, it's just a brief conversation, that you're treating it professionally and that you are complying with state employment laws with regards to the questions that you ask, and that you are treating that candidate consistently with how you treat other candidates. Gone are the days when you can say, oh, I'm just gonna meet them for coffee to test it out. If you know that you're meeting with them to talk about a position, to find out a little bit more about their skill set and see if they might be interested. It is an interview and it has to be treated as one. All right, so you've posted the position, you've reviewed your resumes, you've identified candidates that you're interested in. If you're going to do pre-screening, you've done that part. Now it comes time to do the actual interview. And today's interviews are very different than they used to be. It used to be people would come into the office and do the interview. That's just how it was. Well, the world has changed. We have a lot more people who are working remotely. We have individuals who at least do interviews remotely. So when I'm talking about the actual interview, I'm talking about when you are scheduling someone to meet with yourself and or with other individuals within your organization to formally talk about the position. So interviews can be done in person, they can be done over the phone, or they can be done via video conference. I highly recommend that if you are someone who has only been doing interviews over the phone, that you also add into your repertoire some sort of face-to-face interview, whether it's in person or via video conference. You can tell a lot about an individual by their demeanor and the way that they carry themselves during an interview. So you want to make sure that you are having that face-to-face interaction and not just basing it on a phone conversation. To have successful interviews, you need to make sure that you have prepared for those interviews. Preparation for interviews is probably one of the things that employers fall short on. A lot of times when you have a candidate coming in, you might say, oh gosh, who's available to talk to this person? Hey, John, we got a guy in the conference room. Can you come down and talk with them? Or Sue, hey, we got somebody coming in later this afternoon. Can I add you to the interview agenda? That does not give people the proper amount of time to prepare. It also could mean you're not including the right people in your interviews. And that is probably one of the key elements that if you take anything away from this session today, I want you to take away deciding who you should include in your interviews. At a minimum, they should be top performers, key individuals within the organization who actually do the job the way you want it done. Top performers are going to attract other top performers. They're also going to be individuals who likely will promote the company the way that you want the company to be promoted and can interact with a candidate properly and share what that candidate might experience if they were to come work for you. At a minimum, there are 3 levels of individuals who should be involved in your interviews. You should always include someone at the peer level of the candidate who is coming in. So if you are hiring an associate level individual, you will want to include an associate level individual in the interview. This is somebody that the candidate will work with if they're hired, somebody that they're going to be side by side with, might go to lunch with, may go to happy hour with. Somebody that they can really make a connection to and picture themselves working with. You also want to include, of course, the supervisor or the manager. This would be the individual who's going to give the candidate work direction, who might meet with them to evaluate their performance, who might assist them with career development. The candidate needs to picture themselves working for that person, taking work direction from them. Is this somebody that they can respect and grow and learn from? And then the third individual should be somebody in that senior manager or executive level role who the candidate will see as the individual who's in charge or who leads the mission, vision, values of the organization. The candidate will want to see, is this somebody that I could follow, right? Like they're setting the mission, vision, and values. Is what they are saying, is their approach to it, something that I can picture myself following? And if you can include individuals at these different levels in your interviews, that candidate can determine, hey, you know what? Yes, I can see myself working with that person and going to lunch and really enjoying a work relationship with them. I can see myself learning from that person who's going to be my manager. And I can see myself following the values and mission of this organization because of that person that I met with. The more people they can connect with and interact with and picture themselves working with, the more likely you are that they are going to accept an offer of employment. So make sure that you are including those individuals. As you include those individuals, you are also going to want to make sure that as part of your preparation, that you identify standard interview questions that you're going to ask of each and every candidate. All right, so, and it would be each and every candidate for a specific position. You may have 5 solid questions that you are going to ask of every candidate just to see if they're a fit for your organization. But you should also ask every candidate for a specific position the same questions. So my next polling question is, do you currently have standard interview questions that you ask of all of your candidates for specific positions? Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, I am so happy to see that so many of you have standard interview questions. Those of you who don't, and those of you who are working on it, no worries. That's why we're here today, is to learn some of these things. Standard interview questions will allow you the opportunity to ask the same questions of every candidate for a position so that you can compare them and determine who the best fit is. It's so that you can compare apples to apples rather than apples to coffee, right? Like, you want to make sure that you have a basis of comparison for your candidates to determine who the best fit will be. It does not mean that you can't ask questions that might be specific to an individual based on something you see on their resume. It just means that we're going to ask these questions that are going to help us determine if they're a fit for the job from a technical perspective, from a work experience perspective, from a soft skills perspective. If you see something else on their resume you want to address, you certainly can do that, but you still have that foundation of questions that you can then compare with other candidates for the same position. The other thing you want to make sure that you do with regards to establishing your interviews, so you have your standard interview questions, will be to determine who on your interview team is going to ask which questions. And that way it ensures that all of your interviewers aren't asking, hey, tell me about a conflict you've had at work, and nobody is actually asking about what kind of career development would you like to see for yourself moving forward. So you have some questions asked by this interviewer, different questions asked by this interviewer, and other questions asked by this interviewer, so that you are getting answers to all of your questions to determine if that person is truly a fit, and you're not all just learning about what their career development goals are. The other thing you want to do with your interviewers is to assign different information that you want those interviewers to share with the candidate. So the peer level individual may talk with the candidate about things like the group dynamic, or fun activities that you do as an organization, maybe some events that you hold every year, whether it's celebrations, a summer picnic, a family barbecue, a basketball team or a broomball team that the company may have organized. You want that peer level individual to share those types of things, or maybe even to share information about what the day-to-day job entails. You might want the manager to talk about performance management and how you provide feedback and what career development is like and what training opportunities there are in the position and in the organization. And the senior level executive or senior level management may want to cover things like the mission, the vision, the values, the importance of the position or the department to the organization. That way the candidate is learning a lot about the company and not a whole lot about just one specific thing. So make sure that you have established that with this interview team that you have come up with. Who is giving what information to the candidate and what questions is that particular interviewer asking, and then doing the same for every single person who's involved. This is probably one of the key things that will differentiate you from others when it comes to interviews, is that your candidates will come in, they will not only be able to share a lot of information about themselves because they're being asked a whole bunch of different questions, but they will also be able to get a lot of information about your company. And that allows them the opportunity to see if they could potentially be a fit. All right, some key things that I would like to make sure that I point out, and this came from our head of talent acquisition here at iBailey. These are some questions that he asks of his candidate. One of them is, what is your motivation for talking with me or talking with our organization? Some people are out there just fishing for counteroffers, right? So they're going to come and interview with you, see if they get an offer, and then go back to their current employer and say, hey, I was just offered $10,000 more a year. What are you going to do about it? So finding out what a candidate's motivation for talking with you or applying for your position can also help you figure out what information do you need to provide them, or what do you need to sell about your position or the organization that will make them stand up and say, yeah, I'm really interested. If they are looking for a company that is growing so that they can have career advancement opportunities, you will want to point that out if that is something that your organization offers. If they're just looking for more money, they don't feel like they're being paid fairly, and your position pays more, then you'll want to sell that. So just make sure that you're finding out what their motivation is so that you can then address that motivation. The next thing that you could ask them is, what are your expectations for this role? To see if what they're wanting to do matches up with what you are actually looking for in the position. Sometimes people don't read through the whole job posting, especially if it's a job description. They'll just apply based on the job title. Or if you posted the compensation, maybe they're applying based on compensation. So asking them what their expectations are for the role helps you determine whether or not what they are looking for is something they're going to find with your opportunity. And then the last thing to talk about would be asking them at the end of the interview, do you have other opportunities that you're considering? And if they do, asking them, number one, what is your timeline for making decisions on those other opportunities that you're presented with? And then also, where does this position rank with the others that you're considering? I know in the CPA world, it is excessively competitive for college students right now. And so we're all out there scrambling for the same students. Most students have anywhere from 5 to 10 different offers, whether it's big four firms, regional firms, or small local firms. And so asking them, hey, do you have other opportunities out there? And if so, when do we need to make our decision to ensure that we don't miss out on you, right? Like, have you already interviewed with these companies? They've given you offers. You have to decide by this Friday. Figure those things out so that you can be competitive and get that candidate if you really want them. The other thing in asking them where your position ranks with regards to their other opportunities helps you understand if they're really interested. Again, in the CPA world, there's big four firms, there are small local firms. They're both amazing opportunities for candidates who are right for each of those firms. So if somebody comes to a smaller firm and has offers from a big four, asking them, what is your preference? I mean, do you want to go work for a big four, or do you want to work for a smaller firm? Helping that candidate figure out that they really do need to make that decision because they are two vastly different opportunities can help them make that choice so that you can either move on to another candidate or can sell them on your opportunity if it sounds like yours ranks higher than other opportunities that they have. Always remember why you are in an interview. There are a few primary reasons. One is for you to share information about the organization and the position. Two is for you to gather information from the candidate about their skills, education, expertise, so that you can determine if they're a fit for your position or for your organization. But one of the things that I think gets lost with interviews is that you are there to create a positive experience for the candidate and for the individuals that you have involved in your interview process. A candidate should always leave an interview thinking that is an awesome company and I would be lucky to work there. Even if they are the worst candidate you've ever seen, they should never leave the interview feeling, oh my gosh, there's no way I got that job. It's your responsibility to create a positive experience for them. So once you've completed the interview, now it is time to make your decision. And in making the decision, you're putting together the offer and you're taking care of all of the pre-screen or pre-employment type steps in your process. So with a decision, I highly recommend that at the tail end of an interview, you add on 15 minutes where everybody who is involved in the interview gets together. You all talk about how the interview went, what your thoughts are regarding the candidate, and whether you should move forward or not. You should know those things after the interview. It shouldn't be, oh, I don't know. If you're I don't knowing, they're probably not the right candidate. If everybody leaves that interview and goes, oh my gosh, they were amazing, you should move forward. So at that point, you would initiate any pre-employment testing or background checks. That could include assessments that you might have for technical capabilities. It could include drug testing. It could include a background check, which would include checking their education, their employment, their criminal history, their professional certifications. It could involve credit based on the type of opportunity that you have available. And it may also include checking references. And if you are a company that checks references, make sure that you are getting references from a candidate's prior employers, and that if they can't give you their current supervisor because they're still working, they should be able to identify someone else within the organization that they trust who could give you information with regards to how they have performed. I don't care if a candidate says, oh no, there's no one at my company that you could talk to. That means they have not developed strong relationships with individuals at their company. So you would want to make sure that you're kind of a little leery of that. They can talk to somebody who maybe used to work with them at the organization and that individual has left. But you want to make sure that you get references from employers, not from other individuals that they might, come up with, like, a family member or a friend. Those people are going to say something positive. You want to talk to a previous employer. You also want to make sure that you're paying attention to state laws with regards to when you can conduct some of these tests. Oftentimes, background checks or drug tests have to be conducted after you have extended an offer of employment. So make sure that you are following your state regulations. And if you are doing these types of pre-employment testing or screening, when you do your offer letter, you want to make sure that any offer you extend is contingent upon successful completion of those tests. When you are extending an offer, make sure that you take the time to sit down and figure out what is the position title, what is the compensation that we're going to be offering, is there a signing bonus or relocation bonus attached to it, what is a potential start date, what is the offer deadline, the time in which you're going to allow the candidate to think about the decision. What are the contingencies, those drug tests, background checks? You have to think of all of those things before you pick up the phone and call a candidate. When you verbally extend the offer, use that information that you've written down to extend the offer to them so that they have all the details. Be excited when you extend an offer. If you call somebody and say, hey, yeah, we'd just like to, we really enjoyed meeting you and we'd like to extend the offer. There's no enthusiasm behind that. The candidate wants to feel like you are super excited about them. So if you're not the right person to get bubbly and try and extend an offer with some enthusiasm, find someone on your team who is able to handle talking with enthusiasm to extend an offer. Everybody wants to feel like someone's excited to have them join their organization. So make sure that you convey that enthusiasm. When you extend a verbal offer, you want to make sure that you guide that candidate on how to handle a counteroffer. More and more companies are counteroffering. None of us want to lose current staff. So if there is somebody that you want to hire and you know they're great and you know that their current employer is not going to be happy, coach them on how to handle a counteroffer. Remind them why they applied for your position. Go back to that, what motivated you to talk to us for this position. Remember, you talked with us because you were interested in career development. This is the career path that we have for you. You talked to us because you weren't happy with your current work environment. We are allowing you to work from home and come to the office as needed, right? So remind them why they were motivated to speak with you and how you meet that need. And then tell them, if your company counteroffers, here's ways that you can handle it. You can tell them, thank you so much. I really appreciate the counteroffer. I have made the decision to move on and this organization seems to be a great fit for me, right? Help coach them through it so that you don't get a call that says, you know what, I just got a counteroffer, I'm going to stay with my current employer. Address the elephant in the room. They're going to get a counteroffer, so address it. Right. The last thing you want to make sure that you do is to follow up with a written offer letter that outlines everything that you have verbally communicated. So you need to make sure that you are doing that, and that in that offer letter, it states contingencies for the offer. So if you haven't gotten the background check, you haven't gotten the drug test, you want to put in there, this offer is contingent upon successful completion. If you have a candidate who drags their feet, you've extended the offer, you're super excited. They said, oh, yay, I'm super excited. And then they ghost you for a little bit. There are some things that you can do. But what I want to do is to find out, have you dealt with a candidate who's dragged the process of accepting your offer out?
We're going to leave it open. Lori, we are sitting at 57% that said yes.
Okay. Okay. So nobody likes to be in that position, and it sounds like a majority of us are. What you can do with that, and again, this is something that I learned from our Director of Talent Acquisition here at Eide Bailly, is it's okay to set a specific period of time for someone to get back to you. 2 weeks is kind of a long time. You're just asking for them to fish for other offers. 1 week or over the weekend or several days to consider an offer is often acceptable. They know if they want to accept your opportunity, and if they are interviewing elsewhere and still have other interviews, they can be honest with you about that. You want to make sure that they choose your opportunity because they like your opportunity and not just because you've extended the offer. So give them some time to hammer things out and figure out if this is the right opportunity, but don't go too long. And if you have a candidate who keeps brushing you off, not returning your calls, or who keeps asking for extensions, and you're not down with that, you want to move on and go to the next candidate, something you can do is you can reach out to them. You may need to pull the offer. And in pulling an offer, you can do so really positively by just saying, hey, you know what? It sounds like this may not be the right position, or maybe it's just not the right timing. So we're going to go ahead and pull our offer. And if you would be interested in considering them down the road, you can also add, if your current situation changes and you find yourself interested in the opportunity and wanting to move forward, reach out to us. We'd be happy to have more conversations about it. Don't be afraid to do this. You'll be surprised. There will be a certain percentage of them that immediately call and say, oh, no, I'm really interested in your opportunity. I'd like to accept. Sometimes they just need this little fire lit under them. Other people might say, you know what, you're right. I'm not ready to make a decision. And I get that you need to move on. So don't be afraid to pull an offer for a candidate who might drag their feet. There are employment laws you need to keep in mind as you are going through your interview process. You cannot discriminate against individuals based on specific factors. Title VII protects race, color, sex, which is gender, religion, national origin, citizenship, disability, and age. You cannot ask any questions or base any decisions on any of those factors when it comes to any type of employment activity. And certainly recruiting and interviewing are and selecting individuals are employment activities. You cannot discriminate against individuals who are pregnant, who have an interest in having children in the future. You cannot base your pay on gender. You also cannot ask individuals what their current pay is so that you can see, oh my gosh, I'm going to get them for a steal. We were going to pay $70,000. They're only making $55,000. If we give them $60,000, they're going to be happy. You can't do that. You can ask them what their pay expectation is, but you should not be asking them what their current pay is, because that just compresses the disparity between the genders with regards to pay. You can't base decisions on an individual's age. The ripe old age of 40 is the cutoff where age discrimination in employment comes in. You also can't discriminate against individuals who have a disability or a perceived disability, and you need to make sure that you provide reasonable accommodation. And then the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, you can't base any decisions on an individual's genetic makeup. If they have some sort of illness, you can't base your hiring decisions on those. So make sure that if you are asking interview questions, that you are asking questions that are based on a candidate's ability to perform the job and not on any of these specific factors above. You always want to make sure that you wrap up your recruitment process by notifying all of your candidates of their status. So candidates that you have not pursued, you want to make sure that you respond to them and let them know, thank you, we've decided to go a different direction, but we do appreciate your interest. You want to make sure that your rejection process is professional, because you never know where you're going to see these individuals. They may end up being a customer of yours. They might be a vendor that you purchase product from. They could be an investor in your organization, or they could be a future hire down the road. You want to make sure that you treat every candidate with respect and that you give them a positive experience so that they think of your organization in a positive way. The last thing I want to talk about is what you do with all that information that you gather during the recruitment process. And there are proper ways to file those recruitment materials. Each position should have a separate file, either a hard copy file, an online file, or managed in your HRIS system. If you have hard copy files or like a directory type folder format that you follow, you should name it after the position title and the date in which the position was filled. Each position file should contain records of all of the applicants filed by their status. So some of the statuses could be hired, it could be offer extended but not hired, so maybe they rejected the offer or you pulled it. Interviewed, not selected, phone screened, not selected, not qualified, withdrew, or failed the background check. And so a polling question could be, have you used recruitment information gathered on candidates for one position to identify potential candidates for similar positions down the road? You interviewed somebody in January for a position, you didn't pursue them, you opened up a position in August, you went back and you looked at all the candidates that you had talked to or reviewed resumes for previously, and then found somebody that you liked and ended up pursuing them.
All right, we're sitting at 64% that said yes.
Okay, great. That's an excellent use of all that data. Some of the information that you should be retaining would be their resume, their application, transcripts, phone screen notes, interview feedback, background check results or testing results, offer details, or their voluntary EEO information. You may also retain the resume, application, transcripts, and background check information in a personnel file for the individuals that you hire. You may want to keep that, the background check or testing results would go in a confidential file, so not just in their general personnel file for everyone to find. And your EEO information and background check should be put someplace where only HR can access it, because that is not information that should be accessed by anyone other than human resources. The benefits of filing that information is so that you can actually go back and find candidates that you may have spoken with previously who you now want to pursue in the future. So if you haven't been doing that, it is a great way, again, to catch some low-hanging fruit. People who are already interested in your organization and applied may not have been a great fit for that position, but they might be a great fit for this position, or maybe they were your second choice for that position. Now you have another one open. You just reach directly out to them and see if they're interested. Another reason to retain the information is for compliance with employment regulations. You want to make sure you have documentation that shows you have a process, you followed it, you were not discriminatory in your hiring practices, and are filing information appropriately. I'm going to skip the wrap up, but basically one thing I want to make sure that you understand is that recruitment has to be a priority. If you're not hiring the right people, you're going to struggle with retention and your organization will struggle overall. So just make sure that recruitment is a priority. And with unemployment at 3.5% and a labor pool that has options, you have to focus on recruiting your talent. Okay, and I know we probably don't have time for questions, but Amy will forward me any questions that were in the Q&A or the chat, and I will type out responses that will get sent to all of the participants.